All right, we'll start here in a little bit. Kind of just hopping on a Friday afternoon, end of the week. Got a lot of stuff I need to work on, so probably start getting that stuff going here. And I figure we'll work on some of this stuff together. So we'll get the Linux Systems Administration 5 stuff going. Get that where we can see it. All right. Change this to Unit 5. We need to pull up the worksheet for this week. Change that over to Unit 5 as well. And then what else do we got? We got a lot of stuff to do today, guys. We got a lot of stuff to work on. So we will be going through it as we get to it all. 5 is going to be managing users and groups. So I also have to go look at the lab that I have for that. So I go grab the original lab I have for managing users and groups. And throw it in here. Unit 5. All right. And we got to make it look a little bit here. I'll pop myself on up here. Maybe I won't be popping myself up on here. What's going on here? That's fun. You guys can't see me. So, well, that's always great. I hope you guys can at least hear me. But apparently I'm not going to be able to turn on my video source for some reason. It is not coming on. This is a thing that happens sometimes in this program. It's kind of a reason to jump off of it and use something else. But all right, let me get this going real quick. Unit 5. I need to make it look like the Unit 4 names. Give me a second. Unit 4, and then the lab. Okay. Unit 5, manage. All right. So we're gonna grab this, and we are gonna enable editing, and we're gonna change this image from what it is, and we're gonna change format picture. Nope. Actually, can just get rid of the picture. And we're going to insert our own picture from this device. And go down into documents, Linux group, and then streaming. Where's this at? Images, Prolog. I think we've been putting that one on there. Oh, that's way bigger. I think that's the one we've been using. There we go. Manage users and groups. All right. We got to update this. Rocky server. PuTTY or other terminal. Yep. Make some users. Do some of that stuff. Look at some of this stuff. All right, good. It's all good stuff. Now, talk about the Shadow Password Suite. Show them how all that works. Let's go look at this. Let's move this over to the side here. Go jump over to our Werewolf lab. That's not good. Not good at all. Wonder if... Oh, shoot. Hold on. Have people been fucking around in here? Well, we always get that risk when we have people that can connect to our systems. So, all right. Let's see. You guys hearing me okay? It's not often that I don't have anybody talking the first 5-something minutes. All right. Keep working on stuff. All right, Jack, you can hear me good. All right, thank you. Um, so let's jump over to here, and then we're on the node. So let's just go to like Rocky 1. Doesn't really matter. All right, we're the only one on here. Been up for 2 days. That's fine. Let's do a walk of all the 4 files that are part of what's called the Shadow Password Suite. So we'll cat etc pass wd. That's pretty common. It's good. Cat etc shadow. You normally wouldn't show anybody this. Cat etc group and cat etc G shadow. All right, so we have all of the primary files that are there, and then we can go look at login defs and see what's there. Okay, so if there's any special values set in there for users and that kind of stuff. All right, good. Talk a little bit about the password file and how that's broken down. Oh, good, good. Yeah, I'm glad you guys can hear me. And Jeff over on the YouTube side, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I just tried to turn my camera on, and it's funny, my video does not work right now, and that's probably... Actually, you know what? I know how to fix this. Let's deactivate it and reactivate it. And then I think... Yep, you guys should be able to see me now. So we're good. You guys, I don't know. Sometimes people want to look at me or whatever. So I'm not doing the green screen because I don't really care tonight. I'm just going to be on for a while. The wife's out of town for 10 days with one of her friends. They're hitting a bunch of the states back east because she's trying to hit her... she's got 6 states to hit out there, and they're going to go for 10 days and hang out. So I'm just kind of working on whatever I'm working on, right? Getting the lab stuff up and then making sure this is all ready for you guys tomorrow. So we've got that. We've got the anatomy of a... for people that aren't super familiar, if you need to look at a file, maybe you've never looked at an etc host or etc pass wd, maybe we just tail -1 on etc pass wd, and we see that this user is sitting there and they've got, you know, their name, their password, but their password with an X means it's over in shadow, which is the common standard. We've got their user ID, their primary group ID, a description if it exists, their home directory, and then their primary shell. That's their default shell as they come into a system, right? It's also super weird. Yeah. There we go. Better. That was annoying that it didn't have a new line character on the end of it. But there we go. Lab user shows those 7 fields, right? And sometimes you guys will see me pull those fields for whatever types of reasons that we might want to do that. All right, so we got that. We can see that stuff. We can see the anatomy of a group file, and we're going to do that. Sort MD5. Oh, wow. So this was all the way back in 7. So I was talking about rel 5 and 6. Ugh. All right, so 6, 7, and then all the way up to, let's see, what is the hash? I need to go look this up because I don't know it right off. What is the hash for... I actually don't know what hash they use by default. I guess I can go look in the file. Yeah, they're still using the SHA-512. All right. So I need to use that. So rel 6, 7. 6, 7, 8, and 9. Use SHA-512. All right. And we see that right here because obviously that's mirroring the same thing. Now, I wonder if they have... You got a link for this? I just haven't looked into that, so that's why I'm looking it up. I guess we could go right here and look as well. Right here. We could just go here and then just look. Right? And yeah, that still looks like the same hash. Yep. You've got your seed first. There's your salt, right? And then there's the actual hash over here. In case you guys are wondering, this is just the salt right here. It's not part of the actual hash. All right. So we got that stuff. Hey, thanks for the follow, guys. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are just prepping. I'm not working too hard right now. I'm just going to start prepping for the course tomorrow. Getting people ready for some of the security stuff. This is what the course looks like for tomorrow. We're up in week 5 now. So we are over on week 5. This is what we're working on starting tomorrow, is the managed security, manage users and groups, and then talking about security of our systems and how do we kind of, look to be, because as Linux engineers and as systems engineers, a lot of times we get called to, we get called into all the incidents. People always are like, oh, those guys know what's going on. So you're always getting called into everything. And you're always getting asked questions about things. So you need to know how to figure stuff out in your network, right? Actually, so one of the things I need to do, I need to pull up a presentation. I don't even like the name of the presentation. I just need the presentation for my... damn it. Hold on. I don't even like the name of it, but it's a talk that I gave back in the day for some of my college students. And the main thing that I need is this methodology right here. So when we talk about like the methodology of how you kind of get in there and scan systems, and we're gonna do a little bit of what we call gray box testing this week. So let me go to, this will be our 5th class meeting. Quick reminders, hold on to that stuff. We're at about 200 now, so we're at like 190 something now. That's kind of getting crazy how many people are part of this. I always do this. I take the last week and I switch it here. Damn it. Didn't want to do any of that. All right. Last week becomes this week. And then in here I say last week. So, by the way, this is your last day. If you're doing Unit 4, this is your last day to get last week's stuff done. And then this week, this becomes this week. And we're going to be doing discussion post 5. And we'll clean that up. All right. If any of you are like, what the hell's this guy doing? I am getting ready for the class that we're starting Unit 5 tomorrow. It's a free class we're running in our Discord. Our Discord looks like this. It's free. If I can pull it over here. It's free. You guys can do whatever you want in there for the most part. But, hold on. What I ask you to do is if you do join the Discord, go hop down here to Prolog Projects and you can find the whole lab. You can find what we're working on, what our old material is, and stuff that you have to do. And it's probably somewhere, depending on how fast you work, between like maybe, I would say somewhere between like maybe 4 and 6 hours worth of studying and working on stuff during each week. And we're starting week 5 again, as I was saying. So if you're interested in doing it, it's free. You just got to go in there and start working on it. We are going to give out pretty cool little certifications for people that finish it. We don't have a whole lot of people still doing it. So we had 190 say they were starting it, because free sounds really good. But then when you see how hard it is, not difficult, it's just time consuming, right? You want to make a change for yourself, you got to spend time doing it. We've had a lot of people drop out. So, and when I say drop out, I mean they're just not doing it anymore. Like I'm not gonna chase people down. It's my same philosophy around college too. I'm not gonna chase people down to make them do stuff, right? Linux users have bigger muscles, sure. That's actually pretty good. There was that, we looked at that yesterday, so. What did I call it this week? Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's my bad. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah. You guys got to remember, I sometimes don't even look at the things like I should. All right, so there's a worksheet always. We'll be working on the worksheet here in a minute, and then there's always the lab as well. So I'll put this together. This is what last week's discussion questions look like, right? Go read about an operations bridge and figure that stuff out. And then last week was also about operations and making, like, you built documentation around how you would check out a server during an incident, right? Our definitions and terminology this week are going to be totally new, so let me update all this. Just update all this. Get that all out of there. Some of the things that I'm going to want people to know are going to be this. I want people to know these things here. I hate that term. And a sub to that is rule of least privilege. Hey, thanks for that, Kano. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. You guys can use your Prime anywhere, but sometimes you guys use it here, so that's always kind of cool. Can I tell you guys a funny story about the term backdoor? That is a technical security term, the term backdoor. Do not, on an engineering call, when you're working with like the federal government and you're talking about access to systems, and then, you know, something could possibly go wrong, and then you're like, oh yeah, but we got a backdoor to get into the system. Don't ever say that. Even if you're the engineers and the administrators that manage all this stuff, and what you're doing is technically going in a side channel to get in a server, do not ever use the term backdoor. That will that's like batting a hornet's nest. That literally means something. So that's an important term. Like, I'll tell you guys that tomorrow when we're talking as well. But it's like it's really a thing. Like planting backdoors and the terminology of backdoors are kind of a big deal. So all right, let's go look over here. What the heck is that right there? All right, let's go over here and let's go look at. Damn it. attack.miter.org. So I show you guys this often on stream, and this will probably be one of the discussions of the attack matrix, right? And looks like they also have techniques and sub techniques and all that kind of stuff. You can look at it in slide or flat mode. That's fine. I don't think we need to change any of that stuff. Side or flat mode. Yeah, I don't really care about any of that. Here's going to be our first discussion question for tomorrow. First discussion question is going to be this. So Unit 5. Discussion post 1. Review the page. Okay. What terms and concepts are new to you is always important, so I'm always going to leave that up, right? That's always going to be something that's going to stay up. But then my next question is going to be, why, as a system administrator, and not directly in security, do that whole thing's an aside, so it all belongs in a block there. Okay, why, as a system administrator, not directly in security, do you think it's so important to understand how your systems can be attacked? Isn't it Isn't it someone else's problem to think about that? Why is it my job? I'm not getting paid to do security stuff. I'm a systems administrator, or I'm an engineer. Why is that? Isn't that someone else's problem? So I want you guys to think about that, right? And then what's another kind of question that I could get out of there? Let's go look at the actual page. Oh man, I got so much stuff we could go do. I got a lot of work to do tonight, so I'm just gonna be sitting here working on this stuff all night. And you guys can hang out with me if you want. Let's look at I guess I don't have any other questions I want to ask about this, but let me ask this one other thing. What techniques do you think are important to stop? Hold on. What impact? So, we are, Linux systems engineers and Linux systems administrators, or most of the people in this group are people that are wanting to do that. And I'm saying you're not, I literally, in my career, 20 something years of doing this, I've never really cared what data was on my servers. Never cared. But why did I need to know what was going on them? Why did I need to know that this one was a database and this one was maybe accessing S3? Like there's a reason to know those things, even though I've never technically been a data owner or data custodian. Did you know though, when you're root, you can read anything on your server. Like I can literally go in, unless somebody's encrypted in some way and put it in some kind of database. I mean, I can take over databases. I can do all kinds of things, right? I don't want to do that kind of stuff. But my point is, when you're root, you have a tremendous amount of authority that's kind of implied, even if you're not a data owner or a data custodian. So you've got to think about that. Like, what I mean by that is access control lists that you learn about in a Linux system do not apply to root. You do whatever you want as root. You read any file you want. If something's in a flat file. So knowing that, you can read all the ports that are open. You can look at all the data communications. You can see everything that's going on, right? You can literally look at the kernel and what the kernel's doing with routing and everything. So that's a lot of responsibility for where data is going and that kind of stuff. So that's something to think about. All right. So I'm going to leave that. That'll be discussion post 1 for tomorrow. And then this one, we got to think of something to do for 2. So for that, and if you guys want to see my thought process a little bit as I'm working on these, I'm going to go look at what we're doing in the lab, right? So what are we doing in the lab? We're making users, looking at the stuff, making users, making aliases, doing all that stuff. Adding users, okay. Messing with Etsy that's all good. If you've never played with Etsy, that's a very important directory. You can create some groups, do some login defs to change around how logging works. You can add groups outside of the normal group. You could add users to groups. Okay, that's all fine. I don't think there's anything in here. I just want to make sure there's nothing that's specific to how I originally built this. That's all fine. Make a project directory, that's fine. Let's go check something. The users are root in this environment, so it's mirroring this. Let's make dir project. Just make sure that we can do that. All right, project is there. All right, I just want to make sure that that could be created. I didn't want to leave this in a situation where it couldn't be created. So make that project, make it 770, check permissions, and then touch, a user file, and then see if users can see those things. All right, that's fine. Working with permissions, we've got some users. I'll just call that like Scott. That's an old access that I had on a set of servers long ago, so I don't need to leave that on there. Okay. I'll explain to you guys. I always show you guys the permissions. Let's change. Let's just change that everywhere. So we'll do a find and replace. And everywhere where that is, what? Come on. Alright, whatever, fuck it. We'll do it live. This is us right here. Doing it live. Alright. This is by the way, this is like the least anybody's ever talked I mean, I've been live for 30 minutes and there's only been a couple chats, so I'm kind of weirded out by this. Maybe I've run my course on here. Like maybe there's no more. All right, that's good enough for now. All right, we'll check that here in a little bit. We'll re-review it, make sure that everything's still good on there. I think that lab will work fine for what it is then. The labs really are there to get you guys in there and kind of like getting your hands into the things, and then you can modify things as you kind of go from there. So the labs are really to get you guys, a little bit more hands-on maybe than you've had. All right, what are we going to do for discussion post 2 then? Let's go look at, so we've got all this basic user stuff, right? Maybe we'll talk about users. Okay, so for the labs this week, we're dealing a little bit with users, and I'm gonna say, super annoying. I hate when the underline extends further. Find a blog or article on the web that discusses the user environment in Linux. You may want to search for .bashrc or .files in Linux, right? And what types of customizations might you? And some of you that actually do a fair amount of Linux may think, especially you that are doing it professionally, not just kind of in your home, what type of customizations might you set up for your environment? And then why, right? And I know people who live and die by their customizations. Though I know people, and some of you may be them, there's nothing wrong with this. Like I try to tell people, like I stay very vanilla, but a lot of engineers, I know guys that'll take 2 weeks to set up their environment because everything just needs to be right. They need to be nestled in, and then they're very productive. And I'm not going to fault them for that kind of stuff. Like some guys need to like have these NeoVim terminals that like turn every literal key command they do into a shortcut. And there's plenty of guys out there, they never even touch a mouse. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not what everybody needs, right? And I tell you guys, I grew up in an environment where I had so many different shells and different types of Linux and Unix that I never got into customizing my stuff. Like I'd send some things over, but for the most part, I could do what I needed to in just like a bash shell, but also C shell and K shell environments, right? I had a lot of different environments I've worked in. T-shell too, for that matter, but mostly K-shell and C-shell outside of Bash. Those are the ones that you would run into in a lot of the defense contractors and stuff. Anyways, so what kind of customization? Look, this is really the crux of this as you start into systems administration. Why do you? Let's see. What problems can you anticipate around helping users with their dot files? And I'm just going to tell you right now, I have been... You will run into some of the weirdest errors. Someone will be like, well, I just brought my stuff over from another Rocky 9.4 box. And you're like, oh, shoot, well, yeah, it's weird that it doesn't work over here. And then you find out that they have some link to some weird thing that doesn't exist. Or they set path variables programmatically with something that's maybe missing out of this environment. Maybe we had a different baseline for these set of servers, so we don't pull them from the same image. So things are missing. And I'm just going to tell you, like, you will find, and you probably find, if you go look up, errors in user.bashrc files, you will probably find some of the weirdest stories you've ever seen. I've had really bad problems. In fact, it got so bad with me, one of the things I used to do with users when I would troubleshoot with them is I would take their whole .bashrc, everything in dot, and I would just move it to an old files, and I would move everything out, and then I would regenerate all of their stuff out of etsy-skell. And then I'd be like, okay, log in. And they'd log in, and they'd be like, okay, everything's good. And I'm like, then it's something in the way that you configured your dot files. It's something in your configure. Here's all your configuration over here. Just know as you move stuff back, something's broken. And look, I mean, you can help people dig in further than that, but it's almost like you buy a house and then you burn the house down, and then you're like, well, Scott, why did my house burn down? Fix it for me. I'd be like, I mean, you can't start fires inside of your house, man. Like, I can't, that doesn't work. Like, we can't live with that. All right, so those will be our 2 discussion posts for tomorrow. I'll post those on Saturday. I'm not going to post them tonight, but for those of you that are here, you guys can see what they are. You can start thinking about that stuff. Definitions, terminology. You're still doing the same links, terms, and useful tools, so if you're taking notes. And then this week is Unit 5, and that is going to be called... Somebody help me out here because I can never remember. Manage users and groups. So it's called manage. You're working on your project guide. Some of you guys have started that already, but the project guide is this thing that we posted up. And, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to become a Linux administrator? Do you want to get into this space? This is what that project looks like for anybody that wants to do it with us. Again, this course is free. We're just doing it up on Discord, which is right here. There it is on the Twitch side. Oh, shit. And then on the YouTube side. There it is on the YouTube side for anybody that wants the Discord link. All right, so here's our final project. For people that, again, you've got to do this project as well as the course if you want the cool little thing. Anybody want to see what that looks like? I don't know if you guys have all seen it recently, but this is what that thing's going to look like. We are going to do, we're going to do the blue one, but this is what it's going to look like right here. So it'll be a certificate, and then you're going to be able to verify that it's actually your, somebody can scan that QR code and see that it's you. And then my signature is not Thomas Edison, but that's the example we used. So, all right. So what are we doing? Select a topic to research about a project that you are going to build. You have to actually build this project. If you guys want to do this. Select a topic to research about a project that you're going to build. System stability, system performance, security, monitoring, any of these things. Kubernetes. Do you want to do Kubernetes? By the way, Kubernetes is all working in my home lab now. So I actually have some stuff to build out here. Keeps timing me out because I locked this thing down so much that it locks me out now, or you have to stay logged into. Oh, what's going on here? And then become my user, and then I'll leave that running in the background. That shouldn't log me out anymore because now I'm sending a message every second. That should leave me logged in anyways. So now, if you're doing this, you're going to plan a project, find documentation or similar projects and what you want to build or what you want to work on. It doesn't have to be something that's going up on GitHub. You could just build some software on top of a server. So you could take a server and say, okay, I'm going to turn this into an NFS server and this one into an NFS client and make them talk to each other. Something like that might be a little simple since we have labs on that, but maybe you want to do that and then you want to, figure out a way to build like back-end labs in so that when every client connects, users can just use that system as a lab or whatever. I don't know, something like that. You can document what you're doing. You're going to build out a diagram of how you're going to build it. Then you're going to actually build it out and prove that you've built it. Then you're going to finalize your documentation and make sure that it's idiot proof. If you need an idiot, somebody will probably be an idiot for you on the Discord. And what I mean by that is somebody will go through and walk through your steps for you and prove that you built it well enough that anybody can do it. So we call idiot proofing. You don't really have to do that, but that's a good thing to make sure your documentation's clean. Prepare to present it, but you do not actually have to present it. And then come down here, and then if you want to present it, we'll have time slots available for people that want to present for like 10 or probably like 5 or 10 minutes in the last weeks for people that want to talk about that stuff. And then your deliverables are build out your project. You have to do it in either our Prolog lab or in Killer Coda so we can go test it and play with it. You diagram what you've built, so draw something out. Show examples of running system with screenshots. So you've got your documentation, your diagram, and a running system. And then some kind of 15 to 20 slide presentation that shows how you built it out. Again, there's a really cool tool called Overleaf, which will do everything out of Markdown for you. So that's kind of a nice little thing. So anyways, that's the project. For people that are like, oh, I don't know what the heck this project is. All right, digging deeper. Let's go throw some digging deeper stuff in here. And then reflection questions. Oh, you know what we have? There's more to do this week. There's more to do. I have to set something up for the home lab. We got to draw something out. Oh man, guys, why do I always do this? Like I take more work than I really want to do, but I gotta draw this up, and then I gotta give you guys because we're gonna do some gray box testing this week. You're gonna do some gray box stuff. So let's go get the lab cleaned up for that. Let's make sure that the lab has Nmap. Nmap's not found. So let's exit out of here, clear the screen, Control R, and hit exec. And we're gonna exec into the container, say DNF install -y of Nmap, right? So we're gonna install Nmap on the image, and then we're gonna have to reboot all the nodes in the cluster. So before we reboot all the nodes in the cluster, we're gonna let people know that there's some maintenance going on so that we don't break anybody's lab. You know, our labs allow you to hang out in them as long as you need. I don't have any timeouts or kick you guys out or anything. But I do kind of reserve the right to patch or update the system, then you'll just have to log back in typically. So look, we get Nmap and we get the NCAT. So Nmap does NC or netcat, and Nmap netcat is the basis of all Nmap tooling. So we've got that in the image. We're going to hit escape, and that's going to build into the image, right? That's a process that always happens when you get done building into a container in Werewolf, right? So it's going to rebuild my little container here. Once that's done, we're going to send a message to all the servers and let everybody know, hey, we're going to be rebooting these servers, and I don't think there's too many people on, so they'll just get a message and then they'll have to reconnect. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all the servers nmap because of this other thing we're doing. So let's do this and say shut down. Control Shift R should take me back through all of the different ones, and looks like that's all my searches. All right, so let's go. Let's do this. Let's hit Control R for Ansible, and then we'll say Control Shift R, and that should go. Should do reverse searches, but that's not working. So let's do a history grep-i for Ansible. I want to look for this one here, Ansible server shell. So we're going to send it to all of the servers in the environment, and then send to wall across the whole system. Rocky 2 looks like he's down. Rocky 11 looks like he's down. Looks like people might have messed with them. So that's fine. Let's go look at those two nodes. And how is Rocky? Actually, you know what? I need to set up a monitor for this. But Rocky 3 says he's down. I wonder if somebody broke his networking. Oh, Rocky 2 is down. Hold on, sorry. Rocky 2 is down. What's going on with this guy? Alright, so somebody broke his memory. So he's out of memory, and that killed his networking. So we're going to reboot him. And we'll reboot that. And then let's go look at 11. What's broken on 11? I think it's funny when lab stuff gets busted. What's going on 11? Same thing. Probably the same person. I mean, likely, or people were just messing around with stuff, which is fine, right? That's why we have labs, guys. Because if you break something in a lab, that's better than breaking something professionally. Because in the lab, you can learn and understand a thing and understand the behavior of a thing without, you know, getting fired. All right, so I'm going to take this real quick, and then I'm going to say, instead of that, I'm going to say uptime, and I'm going to do a sleep. Let's say sleep 300 before it. So that's 5 minutes of sleep, and then it's going to run my command. And we can sit here and talk, and then without my hands being anywhere near the keyboard, you're going to see that go off here in a second. So I kind of like this. Like if I was showing, like if we were down in a system and I was like showing you guys how the system works, I might do that while we're talking. Or if I was like in a screen session, I had you guys all connected, I might do that command as we were going, and then you could connect or do whatever. So what else? Oh yeah, we got Kubernetes up on Monday night in my home lab. Kubernetes is back up, so I actually have some cool projects we're going to be building on there soon too. So expect those coming up. I'm pretty much just building, training, and doing this stuff all week. So again, the wife's out of town, so this is kind of what I'm working on. This server, so up on the top left, you're watching an iPixie boot of the Rocky 11 server after we rebooted it. He was down on the network because his memory, somebody used up all his memory, and the out-of-memory process killer, the right, out-of-memory process killer is killing everything in the server. And his networking was down. So we went to it and we saw all those messages at the console, so we killed him. Same thing with Rocky 2. That almost has to, in this environment, probably be done on purpose. That's fine. I don't care if people are doing that stuff in the labs, right? Like this is what we're doing here. So we're working on this stuff. All right. Let's see. A bunch of messages for weird stuff. I don't know what's going on there. All right. By the way, again, 45 minutes in, and we've had like no. So I don't know. Maybe I'm chill stream for everybody today, but it's weird to me. Like normally I have people talking in here, but yeah. Well, all right. If my talking is that interesting, make sure you at least have notes up and you're taking notes on things that you think are interesting. Same thing. If any of you guys are in the Linux Systems Administration course, you could have just grabbed a lot of the stuff that we're working on this weekend, right? And I'm going to be down. Yeah, I'm going to be mostly on the servers all weekend. I'm going to be building training all weekend. Oh, we have Monday off. Most of us have Monday off. If you're doing anything for the government, you're probably off on Monday for the U.S. So this system seems like it's taken a long time to come up. We should go look. Is something happening across all these nodes? Let's go here. Let's go on this guy and let's look at his performance for the whole system. It seems like maybe there's a lot of stuff going on, but that's still pretty low. Yeah, all in all, that's pretty low usage. But all right, go to Rocky 3. Go over to Rocky 11. Rocky 3's back up. Rocky 11 should be up soon. Yep. Rocky 11's back up at the console. Typically, the SSH is up pretty close behind that. So when this finally triggers here in a minute, we're going to see the uptime of all the servers. And then we're going to boot them all over and kick them all over. In fact, while we were waiting, if we wanted to, we could just hop into one of these. So I might say root, and then I think I know the root password for this guy. Right? This node has now come up, and I should be able to do nmap on him because he's pulled the new image. So there's nmap. So that's good. You're going to need nmap this week for some of the stuff we're going to be working on. So let me pull this up, and let me grab a new, say file, open, say new file, and test dot let's do test dot let's say nmap dot excala. Let's go put him in. We'll leave him here for now. That's fine. Okay. All right. Switch his background to dark. Good. And let's change his draw canvas to white because I tend to prefer things in a lighter mode like this when I draw, or in a dark mode, and then I draw the light through it. That system's up. That's up. Let's watch this finish. Should be. I mean, 300 should only be 5 minutes, so this should be done here in a minute, and then we'll keep going. Again, worrying me a little bit. 2 came up, 11. Where you have 11? There's 11. Okay. All the nodes came up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give the shell command. We could just do a shell command. And actually, we can use the module reboot as well. And that should tell all the servers to go reboot. And then actually it'll technically wait for them to come back up. So if I were just watching this, I should be able to see all of my servers over here go into a reboot. Let's see. Oh, there's a sleep 300 in front of it. All right, well, let's take that out of the way. All right. I should reboot all my servers, and I probably should have thrown a fork on it. That's fine. We'll let that run for a while. We'll see the servers reboot if we want to. But over here, what I want to do is, I want to set up a set of tasks or a reconnaissance, a mapping of the network that you're on, because again, this is a task that you might have to run into as an administrator, right? This is a thing that you might see. You might come into a network and nobody's got any documentation of what's ever happened before you. You're the first scribe to ever exist in this new civilization, and you have no idea what's come before you, right? So let's just draw this out like this. Let's say that this is the Prolog lab mapping, right? And we're going to do a little gray box testing. So gray box testing is somewhere between white and black. Black box testing, I know nothing of the servers. I know nothing of the environment. Well, that's not going to be true because you're going to be in the environment already. So by that, you could figure out what you wanted to map for your current network. White box testing, you would know everything. You would know usernames and passwords and servers and what's running and all. You would know everything. So we're not quite doing white box. We're going to be somewhere in between gray. I'm going to give you the whole network you can scan. And I'm going to tell you that, I'm going to even tell you what servers exist out there. And then what I want you to do is figure out what's going on those servers. Okay? So let's back this out a bit. Let's see if we can't figure this out here. So, thought something was going on. Nothing's going on. Talking to myself for 50 minutes. All right. By the way, I already fed Ranger dinner, so Ranger's good. I'm taking care of Ranger literally all week because the wife's out of town. So, just me and Ranger, guys. I'm gonna go give him some little bacon strips later. He gets these little bacon looking things that he really likes. Also, his bed's in the other room, so I need to put his other bed back down there too. So we'll do that here in a little bit as well. So, all right. So the lab mapping is of the network. Does anybody here know? I don't think there's enough people here, but also I don't think anybody probably knows. What is the mapped network, or what is the network that we're looking at in the prologue? That's the network, 192.168.200.24. All right. And then if we were to look up what the different hosts are in that network, if I come over here, this thing's still rebooting servers, so I can't use that one. But I can go over here, and I can SSH to Scott at Werewolf. I think that's right. Yeah. That looks right. Okay. Over here, I've got these Rocky servers. So 192.168.200 through 67 are going to be your Rocky boxes. So these are the boxes that you guys jump into when you're doing your labs. So Rocky servers. And they are we know their range is 192.168.200.50 through 59, right? So these are all the Rocky servers. 50, what the hell? I'm dumb. Through 69, so 50 through 69, those are all your Rocky servers. That's your Rocky environment in here. Rocky Linux from CIQ is now available with an annual flat subscription price of $25,000 a year. Where'd you get that from, Q? Is there a thing for that? Rocky subscription. It doesn't come through, Q. The news stack. October 10th. That was yesterday. All right. Did you drop this in the Discord, Q? RLC. By the way, this might sound like a lot, but if I've got, 1,000 devices, that's only $25 a device. That's pretty cheap as far as subscription goes on servers. You're probably paying, maybe not quite 25 a device, but you're paying a good amount for any of your Tenable security or any of your CrowdStrikes as well. Don't really care for profit downstream from RHEL. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. That's At the end of the day, too, guys, just so you know, if you do anything for a government contract, if you're ever working with, like, you're using Luster. Luster back in the day was back-ended by Sun, and then, Sun got bought by Oracle, and Oracle was like, ooh, brother, what is this? And they threw it away. But when you're working on a government project, you have to have somebody to go to for support. So there was a company that spun off of that when all those engineers got let go from Oracle called Wham Cloud. And Wham Cloud got our business because we needed to freaking pay somebody. It's government contractually obligated for a big defense contractor to have to pay. So I was working at Lockheed at the time. We had to bring those guys in and have them work on our stuff with us and provide us support and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. They're gonna have validated. Yep. Private repositories, ISOs, and containers. Yep. Same idea of what Red Hat does. This is exactly what it is too. Like for government stuff. There you go. Yeah, Q. I work with Rocky, so I'm fine with it. But I've run Alma too. They're both fine. They both do their thing. But if the government chooses Werewolf, which is by CIQ as well, then Rocky naturally follows in some cases. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, we'll let that spin. Let's come back over here. Now, there is another swath of servers in this environment. Let's just grab some of the other servers that'll be in this environment, and let's do this. Let's grab this and say scan. I'll make that dotted. Boom, and then scan. So map these devices, right? And some of the devices will be, so there will be 192.168. And you're going to find these right away, right? .25. So, what the heck is this guy doing? Let's go right here. Right? So, who is this guy? And then who is, let's leave that guy there. One, what is the one device? And by the way, you might think, oh, it's always a router. It's not a router in this case. Well, you might think it's always a network device. It's not. It is a network device. It's a router that is built on a Linux box. That's what 192.168.200.1 is. And I'm going to expect people to find that and find that that is doing all of the internal and outbound routing for the system and track that. Just started experimenting with Linux last November, and the story behind Rocky and the naming motivated you to use as a primary distro. Nice. I don't know all the background of the. I mean, I use I just basically, most of us use CentOS all over the place, and then it broke. Like most of my home lab is still CentOS, except for what's all Rocky now. Hold on. Where'd the name come from? There's all their releases and their support. Hey Cruz, how's it going? I am trying to figure out the I don't know. Somebody dropped the robo taxis in our chat earlier. Not actually, not even the robo taxis. There was another thing that came out, which was the bus. And guys, I don't like. I tell people like I don't, I don't care one way or another. I'm not gonna like shit on the guy for whether you like him or not in politics. But I'll tell you that like he's definitely the dude everybody's chasing. Like everybody on the electronics, like all these electric car companies are trying to be Teslas. So it's interesting. But that little van thing said it had like iRobot. Yeah, that little van thing that he showed sat 20 people, and I was like, damn, that's almost a city bus. Not quite a city bus, but that makes some interesting things. The little taxi one seemed a little small though, but I guess if it's just one person in a taxi, that's not too bad. Normally with a taxi, you got to actually put some stuff in it as well, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, cruise, and the thing is, I still drive an older truck, not super old, but like 2019. So like I'm not on all the advanced electronic stuff, but I got solar on my roof, and I pull down all kinds of solar, and I'm knocking out all kinds of stuffs of whatever my responsibilities are, because I got a huge solar array on my roof. I actually used to show that all the time when I first started streaming. I haven't shown that in a long time. When you get in there, because there's no wheel or pedal. Nice. Yeah, actually, so one of the guys posted, so we did job board listings very early on when we were first doing this whole Linux system administration course. And one of the guys must have wanted to go work at, one of the people must have wanted to work at like SpaceX, because one of the jobs that came in was SpaceX. And I thought that was kind of funny, like just the way it kind of came up. Yeah, I got to do some pretty cool stuff when I was at Lockheed back in the day. Yeah, I was at Lockheed for about 5 years. Pretty early on in my career. I did a lot of stuff with satellites. A lot of cool build stuff, but yeah. And then the other thing too about a lot of the government stuff is you don't get to release, you don't get to publish what you're doing. Whereas like some of these outside contractors, they can do things and they can publish what they're doing. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, nice, yeah. One thing I'd tell you guys is just it's big to be able to get a security clearance. Like I have a top secret security clearance, so you got to be able to do that. And to do that, you got to kind of keep yourself out of trouble, Or, like me, you can be an infantryman and you can go get yourself in all the trouble you want, but you do it legally in a war zone. So that's fair. I was at Lockheed from like 2019 to like almost 2009 until about 2014, right up into 2014. So, yeah, I was there. I worked at, we had a big plant out here in it's in technically Goodyear, Arizona, but it's pretty much Glendale, Arizona. So, yeah, I used to work down there. It wasn't a bad drive either. All right, what are we doing, guys? We're working in the home lab. I got to get back to what I was doing because you guys know I get very easily distracted with stuff. Let's go look at the lab. Let's make sure everything's rebooted, which it should have right here. Yep. And oh, well, not everything's rebooted yet. This will report when things come back. So if you guys ever use screen, you can hit Control A and escape, and you can go look at everything. So we got 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 10. So that's all the first ones. 12, 11, 14, 13, and 15. So we need 16, 17, 18, and 19 to come back still. So those are the ones that we're still waiting on here, in case you're wondering. And by the way, I messed that up because I should have forked more than 5. In fact, let's go fix the default here in a minute, but we'll get back to that. All right, so 125, and then I got to find these other nodes, which we can also do here. Hold on. That was being held open. We'll just go here, and we'll say cat etc hosts. And where's our host file? There are a fair number of these devices over here. So these nodes are all the dungeon systems, right? So 192.168, so it's 101, 102, 103, 201, 202, and 203. All right, let's come back over here. And So we're going to be looking at map these devices. And we are going to go look in there real quick and see, and we're going to build some stuff on those. So we're going to turn some stuff on, and we're going to expose some ports on those machines. So we'll map these devices. I could probably shrink this down a little bit, but this will be fine. And then what we'll do is this will become so this will become a report, and I just want to see what reports people choose to do. Like what do you think is important to show if you only have like a one page to show me what's going on in this network? Do you just want to tell me what type of devices they are? Did you figure out if they're Windows or Linux boxes? Because there's a lot of stuff in this environment. They're all Linux, right? My whole 192.168.200 network is all Linux. Is that important to say at the top of a report? Maybe. Is it important to know that a fair amount of those are Ubuntu, but some of those are Rocky? And what would you include there? And what would you kind of do? Wait, Cruz said, explain what I'm doing right now to a 12-year-old. Oh, yeah, sorry. So I am doing a lot of stuff right now, but mostly what I'm doing is messing around and just burning time up. So I got nothing else to do tonight because the wife's out of town. So this is what I'm going to be working on. I have so I'm explaining it to a 12-year-old. I have a Discord. Discord is a place you can go hang out with other engineers and people that are doing whatever. We have a bunch of people that have been joining, so let's go real quick and check. User count. We are at 2990. We're 10 people away from 3,000, so that's kind of cool. But in the Discord, you can go and there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of going on with certifications and things that you can learn and study and that kind of stuff. And yeah, well, nice. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We've got a Linux Systems Administration course that's starting week 5 tomorrow. It's completely free. It's challenging. It's a lot of work. You got to go download this stuff and figure out a lot of stuff. And for people that are behind, you're probably like, oh gosh, I'm so many weeks behind. Yeah, but there's the best time to start was 5 weeks ago, and the second best time is right now, right? So for people that want this, right? And it starts off with, what do you want to do? Do you understand Linux and storage and security and networking? And if you don't understand those things, how do you rate how good you are at them, right? And people did a bunch of posts on that. And then you have to basically go through and do a discussion post and a response to people each week. If you're catching up, I'll just say you got to do a discussion post. That's fair. But then there's a bunch of materials like a lab document and a worksheet. But for people that want to do the worksheet that don't want to have don't want to use Word, here's the sheet right here in like a text, right? Then you come down and there's a syllabus, and then there's like a primer. There's a whole bunch of things here that we were going over. Plus, these are all recorded up on YouTube. So if you're like, oh, Scott, I need the 16-week course link. It's right here on our beginner start here. So you can go in, and each of the weeks after we do them together as a group, I record them just for you guys, right? The reason I do that is because I find that this is true of college students too. If I've had college students for a long time, if you are not being recorded, you'll be more candid. You'll ask questions and you'll do all these other kind of things, and you'll do that. So you shouldn't have any ads right now, Cruz, hopefully. I think the ads should be done. Doom Admiral, you're going for comp sci would like C++ dev job for space exploration and embed systems. Nice. Doom, there's a lot of really interesting... Did I say Doomhelm? I mean Doomheim. I think that's Heim. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of stuff for you guys to do. But Linux is kind of a fun little thing. Like some of you guys, I think, were saying like you're starting school soon and you're not in it yet. And I say, well, go play around with Linux for a little while, right? There's a lot of stuff out there. Not where you can record everything is just between you, me, and NASA. Yeah. The wife asked why I carried my gun around the house, and I told her for Decepticons, and she laughed, and I laughed, and the toaster laughed, so I shot the toaster. But most of you know a gun is not effective against Decepticons, so that whole story was a ruse, obviously, because you would probably not have survived. Look, and then people down here still doing their catch-up and type stuff. So that's what we're doing right now. And what I'm doing then, sitting here messing around, is kind of building out the stuff that's getting released tomorrow. So for Unit 5, this is the lab. Let me get the lab out of the way. On the worksheet, one of the things right here will be, so the lab and the assignment, you're already working on your project guide, so that should be going. But also map the internal Prolog network. And I'm going to give you guys some tasks here around that. What the hell? Hold on. That. It's better. And what we'll do is, one. $192 to $168. Right, so that's the internal network. Oh, guys, give me a second real quick. I need to grab some water balls. I am out of water. Excuse me. And I also need to go use the restroom. So I will be right back. Let's check on Ranger while we're waiting. Hold on. Where's Ranger Cam at? Ranger Cam is right here. Is he just laying on the floor? Ranger never lays on the floor. Let me open up a hourglass for you guys as well. And we'll just say quick break and keep an eye on my labs for me. Right? Keep an eye on my labs for me. Both my dog, who is part lab, and my labs there. Oh, what's going on here? Failed. Alright, there we go. There's all the logins that are failed. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, let me grab some water here. Alright. Oh yeah, labs. So just do an exclamation mark labs cruise, and it'll tell you that. It'll tell you. Just do exclamation mark labs. It'll tell you. And I'm going to click on one of those. And it'll pop up like this. And this is a Killer Coda lab, which is completely free. And then, whoops, you can drop in and do our Ansible or our Linux labs and start over there, right? All right, so Cruz, what it is. Oh, look at that dog. So hold on. So what it is what's a so a lab is a thing that you follow along with to figure something out, right? So this one is Let's Do Linux. It's a very intro lab. It's designed to get your hands here on a keyboard, right? You're going to get dropped into a Linux environment. If you're not familiar with what Linux is, you're about to be. You get dropped into an environment like this, and you go over here and you say Start. All right. And then you say, you are a new systems administrator at a company. You've been tasked with finding out information about a set of servers. So it's a lab environment. You're doing something to go through and figure stuff out. So we want to figure out what's going on in the system. And we're going to type commands in over here and see what the output of those commands are so that we can start to figure stuff out about what's going on in the system. I tell you guys often, like when you first start this out, you don't think about this, but after you do it for a long time, yeah, this is the hands-on portion here. This is different than like all of me talking and doing the systems administration stuff, which is you go and do the labs and stuff on your own time, kind of, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. And then like one of the things about it is if you break this server, nobody cares because it goes away immediately. Similar to these lab environments here where all this stuff goes away. So, all right, I won't start anything serious again until this break is over. So if you guys, I guess, have questions or whatever, we'll work through them. Also, my forearms kind of hurt, probably from wrestling a whole bunch. So, all right, we're still on break, so we're hanging out, and give you guys another minute or so. I'm gonna sit here and sip on my water, and then we'll keep going with stuff. Where's Ranger at? Close that down. Where's Ranger at? Oh, look at that dog. It's my dog, guys. He's old. I don't think he's got much time left in him. But he's a pretty good dog. Pretty good, pretty friendly. Yeah, Cruz, you can get into it whenever you want. Yep, you can. I tell people all the time, the best time was to have started at the beginning, but the second best time is right now. So for people that didn't get into the like Linux Systems Administration course and wanted to, it's free down in our Discord, so people can just hop in there and do whatever they want. So, all right. We'll let this finish up, and then the timer will go, and then you guys can come back. Anybody that wants to work on this stuff with me can. And I'm just going to keep cleaning up the stuff. And then I'm going to build some presentation stuff out for... I've got a huge presentation and training that I'm doing for work, so I'm going to be pulling some stuff out of some servers and putting it in there. I'll be building all that out. And we'll probably... yeah, then we'll be good. Oh, there's Ranger, trying to walk around a little bit because he's tired and old. All right. Ten seconds. Back on. We will get this thing out of the way. All right. Let's go over here. Let's finish this. Map these devices. Map these devices, and there we go. That's a good enough dock to start. Let's grab this. Grab this. All right. Edit, copy, let's go grab it and throw it into our worksheet. Make that a little bit smaller. Okay. So, what I might need to do is shorten a little bit of this up. Try to see if I can get that all to fit better. There we go. Better. It'll fit better that way. All right, good. And that'll be the network mapping for tomorrow. All right, that's good enough. So let's go mess with those boxes a little bit. Let's go add a couple things that weren't there before. Discord voice channel. People don't study groups for the program. It's working best. Yes. Yeah, actually, I've been really happy about that. Like our Discord's been around a long time, but really only in the last few weeks, probably about 3 weeks ago, people started going down here and hanging out. So we do our normal conferences. We go in there, we talk, we do our meetings on Saturdays. By the way, if anybody's in the Discord and don't know how to find that, the event's right here. And we've got 194 people say they're coming. Most we've had in there is actually 90 though, and then it's been getting smaller and smaller. I think it was 90, and then it was like 50, and then it was 48, and I think it was like 42 or 43 last time. I'm not keeping track, but I'm trying to just keep enough people that really want to do this stuff, right, and want to get into this, and you'll find that not everybody does want to do it. A lot of people think they want to do it, but then when you get into just living on a command line, not everybody likes that as much, right? And I told you guys I do all my work professionally at a command line, so yeah, this is where I do it all. In fact, these other two windows here that I can't show you are actually work things. So, all right, so we got that. That's the mapping of that network. And then, yeah, I leave that. That's a little open for interpretation. You could pretty much do whatever, whatever kind of mapping you wanted to do there. And just provide a one-page summary of what you find in the network. So let's go build some things out there. Let's go look in that network real quick. So that's SSH2 Red 1. And cat etc splat release. There is, it's an Ubuntu node. There's Ubuntu and Rocky in this environment mostly. But let's see if what's he got open? Not really much anything. But let's do a apt-y install of Apache 2. So then we'll make sure he's running Apache 2. So we're just modifying our home lab a little bit. All right, okay, so that node's got that. Let's exit out of there. Let's go to like red 3. And we'll do, real quick before we do that. back to node 1. Do our ss-ntulp. All right, port 80 is now open, so that's good. We expect that. Let's go to like red 3, which isn't going to map to those IPs, so nobody here is going to know what those are, even if you're like, oh, I'll figure out what's going on for tomorrow. That's fine. I don't care if you figure out what's going on for tomorrow. You're going to be figuring it out as you scan all these. Red node 3, what is he? He's going to get apt-y install MariaDB-server. Might just be I don't know, it'll be MariaDB server on this guy. Okay. And then that probably won't start by default. We're going to get it started. And then once MariaDB comes up, we're going to see port 3306 open, right? Because MariaDB is a SQL server. Okay. It's fine. Let it do that stuff. We're not rebooting now. It's just telling us that it does need to reboot. Okay. All right. Give me a second here, guys. I'm getting a lot of text. The wife just landed in Boston. Okay. Gray Fox, it's going good. We are updating stuff in the home lab. You'll notice, 3306 is on. So it did start some CTL status, MariaDB, right? And MariaDB is running, so it is listening. So now, if people were to scan this network, they're going to see, and let's do system status firewall D. Firewall D is not running. Also UFW. And UFW status is the firewall running. Okay, so nothing in here is doing anything. Yeah, Gray Fox, I'm just setting stuff up for the lab for tomorrow for people that are coming and doing our Linux Systems Administration group. I've updated all this, so the worksheet's looking pretty good. I've got to work through. So I did drawing of the network I want them to map for me, and then and actually, hold on. I have it. Where was it? Was it in here? Was it a question here? Yeah. So this is actually important for people that came here later. But like, we talk about attack.miter, and then we talk about like systems administrator. But like, if you're a sysadmin and you're not directly in security, why is it your problem to understand how your systems can be attacked, right? This is a very important thing. Like, what's the importance of it? Why would I want to know how to use some of these tools to just scan open ports? Why would I, if I have root and I can go in all the boxes and check what ports are open, why would I ever need to scan from the outside to look for vulnerabilities like that? And then, not just that, but then you can go down a whole rabbit hole of where can I actually scan for vulnerabilities within these services, right? There's all kinds of tools you can pay for. Hell, you can pull that information down from the CVE and do it yourself if you want to. And if you did that enough and internal to your organization, it's CVE. CVE. If you did that enough in your organization, maybe that becomes a product that you launch to sell to other people, right? This is what we do, right? Potentially, if that's what your organization does, or if that's what you want to do, right? All right, so anyway, so that's what we're working on right now. We got all those things, we got all that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Digging deeper. I don't know if I have any digging deeper for this week. We'll think about that as we go. We'll kind of chew on that a little bit. But I think this environment's pretty well set up now, so people will find things that are going on, and maybe not vulnerabilities, although people can use there's some vulnerability scanners that are out there that I guess you could load up on those Rocky nodes. That'd be fine. I'd be fine with that. So, okay. There's all that. What else do we got? What else? I gotta update the PowerPoint. So here's the PowerPoint. Discussion post 1 we've now written up, so we can go steal those from ourselves, right? So let's go up here. Let's go. Oh, that's so good. Okay. So review that page. And then 2 is... Nope, wrong one. Where's this other one? All right. Worksheet, lab, project. Super annoying that in their wisdom they decide to not show you the mouse on the front side of a... Oh, super annoying. Alright, topics of discussion. This is going to be completely different. It's going to be users and groups. And then we're going to have scanning, enumerating systems. Alright, so we'll talk a little bit about how we scan and enumerate systems. And then system names and IPs. Some open ports and services. System type, if it can be determined. And then writing. Right, so that's kind of what we're doing. Hey Monkey Man, how's it going? I'm not working super hard right now. I'm just kind of hanging out and getting stuff ready for our discussion for next tomorrow. But this is topics. So I might not need this part here. Super annoying. Super annoying, guys. Might remove that for now, and then we'll play this out later. Figure how it goes. Where's the Windows training? Yeah. Axel Foley, it should work for you. I can go check it out and try it if you want. Give me a second. We've seen this before, where sometimes people have problems because, and sometimes you have to just go into incognito mode. We've seen that happen. So Let me pull up. I'm just gonna pull up a brand new browser here, and just hit the Discord, and that looks like it sent me right in. So yeah, it's working for me. But I have seen it where people have to go into the link. You might have to go into, maybe check incognito mode. I probably spelled that wrong, but incognito mode. All right, that's something to try. What we're doing? Did we reboot all the nodes? We didn't finish watching those nodes reboot though, so that's something we got to go do. And let's just go check their uptimes again. We don't need the sleep on there though. We just want to see their uptime. Make sure that they're all back up and running, and map should be on all of them. Well, it will be because they've pulled a new image. 40 something minutes. Yeah, okay, so we just rebooted them all a little while ago. Okay, good. All right. I think it's first time to pay attention to the keyboard ASMR. Nice. Nice. Yeah, hopefully this stuff's useful. And even if that usefulness is just going to sleep, that's fine with me. The serious stuff is tomorrow, right? We're doing the group tomorrow. And yeah, Axel, nice. Also, Axel Foley, may I say I loved you in Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. Axel Foley is, of course, a cop from Detroit who finds himself in Beverly Hills, and he just does all kinds of ridiculous stuff. So this Axel Foley is probably a different Axel Foley, but maybe the name comes from that, and that's really funny. I don't know if any of you guys ever saw that. I liked the Beverly Hills Cop movies, so I thought they were fun. Yeah, they were a bit over the top on some of the gunfighting and stuff, but it was kind of fun. Other than that, all right. Also, I think I got a scam today from like a Twitch link. It may be. Yeah, I saw the new one, Trevor. I think it was fine. Like it was I felt like they were trying to stuff a lot of characters in, and then I'm glad they kind of did it where some of you guys, I'm not spoiling anything, but one of the actors that's in it has actually passed away now since they did that. So it was kind of nice that they did like a, almost 30-year, maybe even 30-year later movie, and the guy, one of the guys passed away a few months later. So it's kind of nice that they had like a little reunion before he passed. So, yeah, it's kind of good. So it wasn't Eddie Murphy, by the way. He's still with us. Anyway, so so we know that's up. We know those nodes are good now. We've added the parts of the lab that we wanted to. We also have on all those nodes, Tiger, Captain, the Captain. He was the captain in that, yeah. Although in the early ones, he was just one of the guys. I don't know the actor's name though, but yeah, it was Taggart. Yeah. All right, so we did all that stuff. We got all that set up. Let's switch gears. We're doing for this next week, for tomorrow, for people that are hanging around. I know some people are still hanging around and doing the Linux Systems Administration group with us. We're doing security, managing users and groups. So that's going to be tomorrow. That is a free group that anybody can join and just come and hang out with. CP, I would say just start doing it. Look, I'm not gonna hammer people later. I know people are like busy. I know people are doing other stuff. The only thing is, like, I just don't want a lot of people at the end to have to like crash everything in and go, oh man, I didn't learn anything in that thing that Scott had us do. Well, now is a perfect time to start, because you would still have 11 weeks to kind of get through all this stuff. I think it'll be hard for people after like week 10. I really do, because it's gonna be too much stuff. It's already drinking from a fire hose. I'm already hitting people with so much information in these. Enzo Bear, how's it going? I saw you guys were all studying today. That's good. I kind of like I was telling the wife the other day, and I've been saying it on here a little bit, like that's like the new core group of people, the people that are coming up and just sitting down in the Discord and kind of hanging out and working with each other to get better at this stuff. That's like the new core group, right? Like that's what you guys should do. You should get in there and work with each other. Some people were helping somebody get ready for Somebody had just had an interview. Actually, speaking of that, somebody had an interview the other day, and they said that I could use the interview questions that they had. They kind of brain dumped on us all the questions, and I said, "Can I use those?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, here's the job." Somebody on 10-4, so it was 10-4. Somebody went and did a job they were trying to be a infrastructure engineer. So if you were going to do this with me, if you wanted to say, hey, let's see if we could figure this out, we could go here and go to Killer Coda, right? Killer Coda's free. Doesn't cost you nothing. Hang out on Killer Coda. Playgrounds. And Ubuntu is a single... you know what? I don't want to be in a single node environment. I want to be in a 2-node environment. And the reason I want to be in a 2-node environment is if I got to talk to another device. Oh. The Q is probably because I just went from one to another really fast. But let's let that refresh. The other one has to go away, the other environment. I probably killed it too fast. Trying to do the Sanders course for RHCSA. I was kind of lost, bored, and tired. Not sure how I found you, but started on Socratic for Linux and really like the way you teach. Nice. Yeah, Trevor Enigma. That's that's the goal here, is to get you guys doing this stuff professionally. And a lot of the Socratic method, for people that don't know it, it's a way that resonates with a lot of people to learn. It's the way they teach people in law school. I've never been to law school, but I've been in college. I started going to college in the year 2000. I've just never stopped. And you say, what do you mean? Well, because I became a college professor 16 years ago. So I've been either in college or teaching college for the last 24 years now. And I'm working on my doctorate right now, so I got another few years of that. I'll probably be done with the doctorate probably 2026, maybe 2027. I don't want to go that long, but that's kind of that. So so anyways, I hope that this stuff kind of resonates with some of you, and I can't help everybody. I mean, yesterday somebody was complaining. Somebody found a stream. You guys know this is live, right? Like, you guys ask me questions and it's live, even on YouTube, in case you guys don't know. Like, I'm really here. Somebody found one of my live streams from like 2 months ago that was called Absolute Beginners Command Line Linux. And I went over the beginner stuff, and like I started in one of my labs very early, and this person complained, and I was like, well, I guess go find something even simpler, I guess. Like, I can't do everything for everybody, I guess. But if you're here and you said, hey, Scott, could you start a little easier, or could you maybe break that down for me? I'll try to do that to you guys. I'll try to do that for you. But that person's like, yeah, hey, bud, thanks for your engagement, or here's some free engagement for you, this and this and this. And I'm like, go fuck yourself, first off. That's what I wanted to say. I didn't type that, but that's what I wanted to say. Like, go fuck yourself, man. One, I couldn't imagine somebody saying that to me, like looking me in the eyes and saying that. Two, this is free, right? Like, all this shit's free. So, yeah, go find somebody else. And he's like, oh, I did. And I'm like, well, you're back here, and we're going to wait with bated breath for your contributions to our industry. What did I say? I said the 10,000 engineers I've taught over the last 16 years. The 10,000 plus engineers that I've taught and have gone on to be CTOs and all this kind of stuff that's out there. It's ridiculous for me. Anyways, all right, I'm not going to try to be that guy that sits around and complains. But, yeah. And Hardrada, hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys, right? This is the non-persistent stuff. The persistent stuff is down in the Discord, right, where you guys can go and talk and hang out with other people and stuff. But I'm going to go to the 2-node environment. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why. Do I have another environment open? I don't think so. Let's see. Let's go check over here. What does the 1 mean for directories? Oh, I can try to find that. Hold on real quick. I don't know if I have something open here. I'm trying to make sure. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Huh. I don't know if I need to just close that one down and go back in. Maybe that one's just holding something open. I don't know. But what does the 1 mean for directory? Yeah, I'll show you here in a second, I think. You're talking about this over here? This was somebody's questions, so I'm gonna have to look at them here in a second, real quick. What does the 1 mean? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to look real quick. So, Give me 1 second here. Let's go in here. Let's make sure I can get in an environment. There we go. All right. So now we're in a 2-node environment. That means I've got control plane and node 0, 1. That's what I expect. I'm going to move this out of the way because I don't need any of this. It's a playground, so it's all for us to play in. I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see it. And the first question asks us, I'll let that start up a second. What is the difference between an IP address and a MAC? Okay. IP, layer 3. MAC, layer 2. That's a start. And then let's start breaking these down. IP is hierarchical. What does that mean? It's logical. And there's a hierarchy to how data flows with IP. IP addresses are 32 bits long, expressed in dotted decimal notation from 0.0.0.0 to 255. Oops. 255.255.255. That's the range of all addresses. And between 0.0.0.0 and 255.255.255, there exists 4.3 billion possible addresses. And you say, oh, Scott, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm sneaky, right? No, I've been a college professor in that field for 16 years. And I've been doing that for 24 years, right, as a network guy. MAC is different. It is flat in that it's not logical. And the way I always explain that to people is it is a burned in name on a NIC, but it can also be spoofed. But if I moved from, if I were to tell you guys my address right now, my address would change if I moved across town. So you guys would say, okay, I know Scott's address now, his home address, but he moved across town, so his hierarchical logical address has changed. And to send me information, now you have to send it to a new address. But down here, my name, Scott Shampine, would not change. Where I live has no bearing on what my name is. I would still be Scott wherever I go. So that's a flat address, right? So this is a 48-bit long address. And it is expressed in hexadecimal format. And that looks like this, 00, 00, 00, 00. And then I'm going to put space there. And then it's going to be, I'm going to put space there. And then it's 00, 00, 00, 00, like that. And we'll leave that all together for a second. All right. And the first 24 bits are the vendor, right? And the last 24, or the second 24 bits, are unique ID, right? So this is they were asked for what are the differences between an IP and a MAC, and I would say that this is it. And this can be spoofed, but is burned into the NIC. You can still spoof it, but it is burned into the NIC by default. Software can go around that. This must always be set. Other things that kind of matter when you start talking about networking, not routed, but that goes back to this, and this is routable, right? And then we can do all kinds of things with an IP for that, right? But the question was, they asked me the difference between an IP and a MAC, and that's it. Now, if the system would ever come up, let's make a new tab. Can the new tab come up? Ah, there's a new tab. Is the other tab still spinning? Screw it. We'll ignore the other tab. We'll just make this tab bigger. All right. So we're on control plane, and I can do something like an IP adder. And the IP address will give me, I've got a loopback interface, I've got an ENP1S0 interface, I've got a Docker interface, and some flannel, and some other stuff, right? So that's interesting. But right here, on my ENP1S0, I've got some information here that's maybe useful, but I've got an IPv4 address. So this is my IP address right here. It is expressed in 32 bits as a dotted decimal notation. And this one happens to be 172.30.1.2 and a /24, meaning the network portion of this is the 172.30.1, and the host portion is anything between 0 and 255 here in the last octet, right? Dot decimal notation, and it's 4 octets, right? So the MAC of this is right here, 52.54.0. That's the vendor portion of this MAC. I should be able to take that vendor portion and throw it up in here and say MAC address lookup, right? And I should be able to throw that in right here and search for that, and it should tell me that it doesn't. Okay, so it doesn't belong to a registered block, but there's a reason for that. This is a virtual machine, so that just has to be, a MAC address just has to be locally unique. So there's something there. Sysadmin versus sysengineer. Traffic King, there's no difference between them as far as what you'll be using, but you will be using primarily, if you go up and down the stack, you will be using probably, you're probably going to be using RJ45 connectors through, RJ45 connectors with Cat5 and Cat6 cables in your data center. Those will probably be provided for you, or you'll be making them depending on how much networking you do. That physically, so I'm starting at the bottom at the physical layer. That physically will connect into the device, and then you will either see a link or you won't. And then that will go over. The standards for that will be encased in what's called the TIA EIA 568A or 568B standard, right? So TIA is one standards body, EIA is another standards body, and they've got the 568A and the 568B standards for cabling. The cabling in your data center for your servers will be typically as follows. From your network device, you can have, from the network device to a patch panel, typically 6 meters of cabling. Horizontal cabling, which can exist within a data center, will be up to 90 meters, but never to exceed 90 meters. And then your last patch panel on that machine, again, that's terminated with the 568A or B standard, will then come down into your back of your switch as that has to be 3 meters. Now, it's 6 meters plus 90 meters plus 3 meters. That's 100 meters according to Cisco. How many meters is that actually, guys? 6 plus 3 plus 90. Wait, can you do it for me? Add it up. No, I can't do it for me. It's just closed captioning. But anyways, okay. So that's 99 meters, right? You're never going to probably extend that in a data center. But the old Cisco standard was that most people nowadays, and the police are not going to come and like arrest you for going over that. It's just, as with all good engineering, when you follow the rules, things work. When you don't follow the rules in engineering, things start to break, and then you can't complain. By the way, Ops to Dev, just so you know, I know that this is being sent up to Azure because I've had network problems before when I stream, and this doesn't work while my network's not working properly. Isn't that funny? So this is, people were talking earlier about like the NSA recording everything. Well, shit, Azure's recording everything, and YouTube's recording everything, and Twitch is recording everything. So if I just start going bomb, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, but that is going up and coming back. It's probably going up and checking some things and then doing some processing locally. I'd be curious to see what that looks like, but I've never. We could watch and see how that thing's talking. We can watch that even in Windows, right? We can see how that thing's communicating up with their tools in Azure, and we can see what it's talking to. That wouldn't be super. Oh, it broke. All right. So, anyways, this was the question: what's the difference between an IP and a MAC? And that is a quick rundown from a college professor of like IP versus networking, and that's what I've been teaching this whole time. That's like what I do. So then it says, what's a routing table? What is a routing table? So let's say that this was question 2, and I got permission from this person. I would never just use somebody's stuff that they dropped up in Discord. Don't worry about that. if you guys post stuff in Discord, I'm not going to use it on stream without your permission. I got this person's permission. But, all right. So what's a routing table? It is the way. It is a... well, we need to step back for a second. What is a router? Routers do two things. Oh, I didn't finish going up the stack, did I? Sorry, guys. What is the difference? So router does two things. It does path determination, packet switching. Path determination, packet switching. The routing table is the path determination portion of the function of a router. Now, we're not specifically talking about a router here, but maybe they were. But there's two things a router does. And a Linux box can function as a router. Some of you guys know that in my home lab, we actually have a device that sits on two networks and pretends to be a router. He is right here. He is this box right here. His name is C Router. C Router sits on the 192.168.11 network that my home stuff is on and connects over to 192.168.200 in that network, and then people jump in and they pass through my network to that network and they do all their stuff over there, and when they go to route out, they go out and they bypass my network. You could probably muck around and get back to my network. I don't have that so locked down, but that's not really like the purpose of the prologue. So yeah. So Traffic King, I'll get to those. I meant to keep going up the stack, but I stopped because I got lost. So down again at layer 1, you're doing all the physical stuff. You may have at the physical layer, in all my career, I've never seen a Linux box like in a data center that did anything with wireless. So let's cut that out in data centers as probably not ever going to be used. But I've seen plenty of Linux boxes as small little these guys. And these little guys, I've got a little Raspberry Pi sitting back there with Kali on him. And that Kali box can scan all the stuff around here. And it can keep track as cars drive by with their Bluetooth on and like that kind of stuff. I can do all kinds of stuff with that little guy. But yeah, there's plenty of Linux boxes that are just little ARM processor type devices out there, right? So that's all layer 1. So layer 2 then, once you connect in, at layer 2 you would check like, hey, is this device physically connected and does it have a protocol up? And you would use a tool like ETH tool for that. So ETH tool will tell you a bunch of stuff about that device. So we were walking up, and at layer 2, ETH tool will tell you, is the device connected? Now, Ethernet and your MAC addresses, they operate at what's called layer 2 of the OSI model. And what happens there is the OSI model is 7-layer model, but that data link layer, he almost got split into the media access control layer and the logical link control layer. So we can really split that out and talk in depth about that if you guys wanted to. But suffice it to say that auto negotiation's off here, but the link is detected, yes. So this system thinks it knows how to talk to the other side of the link. If we were doing physical stuff, this may be determined by whether or not we have the right RX to TX, and if we're using the right 568A or B standard, and make sure that all our cabling is correct as we need it to be. All right, so backing off of that, after layer 2, we go up to layer 3, right? At layer 3, we have logical addressing. Finally, we have that MAC at layer 2, but at layer 3, we start to get this hierarchical logical addressing scheme that is IP, and IP is routable because we can keep sending information higher and higher up until some router does have a path to get somewhere. So the way routing works with path determination is a router will look for the longest prefix match to send to that network. It will send to a default if no match, and it will drop on the floor if no default is set. So let's look at this. This was specifically for a Linux type job. So let's go look at what was seen in this system. So I do an IP route or IPR, and I can see all the routes that this kernel is going to try to send things out, right? And when you say protocol, yeah, PPP. So point-to-point protocol tends to be at layer 2. It tends to only be between two disparate, different autonomous system type networks. So point-to-point protocol is something that's going to be on serial links typically only, and you're going to deal with that probably less in your career nowadays than you would anything else. OSPF, EIGRIP, and BGP you're going to use often. RIP version 2 you might use pretty often. OSPF is what we call a link state protocol. So link state protocols, they keep the full routing table of all the information around them, and then they use these different metrics to kind of track on that kind of stuff. EIGRIP is a hybrid protocol. It's also Cisco proprietary. It's iGRIP, but then enhanced iGRIP is a hybrid protocol. So it's doing some of the things that distance vectors do and some of the things that link states do. So again, OSPF, open shortest path first. It uses this guy's algorithm called the Dijkstra's algorithm to find the shortest path based on cost and metrics, right? EIGRIP is hybrid. Then I'm going to jump over to RIP version 2. RIP version 2 is interesting because it can use variable length subnet masks, and it can do proper internal routing. But RIP version 2 at the end of the day is still limited by a thing called being. He is a distance vector protocol, and being a distance vector protocol gives him this one tiny limitation, that the only metric that a distance vector protocol can look at is hop count. So if I'm like, hey, I want to come over to your house, how do I get there? And you go, well, Scott, you go south from your house, and then you turn left at this street, and then you come down a few miles. And I go, how many lights is that? And you go, I don't know, 10. And I go, I can only go 9 lights, man. Distance vector protocols tend to do 16 in early RIP, but my point is, like, and then you're like, yeah, but you can take this freeway and it's real fast. I'm like, yeah, but I can't take that into account. It's still this many lights. I can't go to your house. And that's how distance vector protocols work. They're severely limited, but they're faster. There's a whole, we're not going to get into all the networking, but distance vector is always doing updates no matter what. Link state calms when the network converges and only goes into a convergence, or like a what's called a LSA, link state algorithm, update storm when a link changes. So, man, I haven't ever done networking on here like that, but that is all the kind of things that you kind of know. Anyways, and then BGP is between autonomous systems. It's your border gateway protocol. I don't really deal with that much. You will use that if you're dealing with cloud stuff, and then if you're dealing with other autonomous systems, you probably will never, if you're just like a network engineer for a college or a campus, or some like Lockheed or something, you'll probably not deal with BGP unless you are either doing site-to-site stuff or you are working directly with a vendor in some way. So it's not that bad. Plus, one of the things about that is it doesn't change once you set it up, and you have the BGP uses AS numbers. Is that right? Somebody help me out here. I think once you have the ASNs, autonomous system numbers. Yeah, anyways, once you have those set, it never changes, so it's like easy. So, all right. So let's go look at this. So let's say that I wanted to ping www.google.com. And this question was about a routing table. So I go to ping Google. My system doesn't use Google to get to Google. It has to go resolve with DNS, which is a layer 7 protocol. And on port 53, it communicated out and found this IP address. It mapped this IP address back to www.google.com. And then it had to get here. It had to get to 172.217.13.164, which was outside of my network. So we had to find a way to do that, right? Well, let's go look at our routing table, and let's look at these rules. We're going to use the longest prefix match to send to that network. So let's come up here, and if I tell you that this is the prefix match, so by prefix, I mean the start of the network. It's a /24. So let me just ask you guys a very simple logical thing. Does 192.168.1 match 172.217.13? In no world does 192.168.1 match 172.217.13. So that's not in. That doesn't work. Also, that's internal flannel, so no. Okay. How about this 192? How about this one? Am I being silly? 192s are out. Throw all these guys away. They're not being used for this communication here. All right. 172.30, 172 is there, but does 30, and by the way, this is a /24 again, so 172.31 has to match here. 172 matches, but does 217 and 13? So this guy's out. This was not the route that was chosen. Now, hold on. This was not the reason this route was chosen, this entry right here. How about this next one? 172.17. But we only have to match the first 16 bits, so we only need to match to here. It was closer, but no, 172.217 does not match 172.17. Throw them away. This was not the one that was picked. Plus, that's internal Docker, but there we go. Now, if I didn't hit any of these rules, which I didn't, the next thing is send to the default if there was no match, and then drop on the floor if no default is set. So is there default set? Yes. And it says, I didn't meet any of those, so here's my catch-all. To send to here, I used this network. I used 172.30.1.1, which happened to go out and hit the default gateway for this network, and then it sends it. That device then had to forward it up. The next one had to drop. Yeah, it's ops to dev. It's like hot potato. You've got these hands here, and the potato's hot, and you guys are all throwing it around the room, and it gets to you, and you don't know where to throw it. You're looking around. You're like, I don't have anywhere to throw this. What are you gonna do with it? You're gonna stand there and burn your? You guys know where the term hot potato comes from? Have you ever like heated up a potato and tried to hold? You will not cool that potato down before you have significantly burned your hands. If that potato's like steaming out of an oven or something, and you grab it, I guarantee you do not hold that potato till it cools down before your hands are irrevocably damaged. Your hands will be broken forever. Well, anyways, not to scare you guys like that. The way you play the game, hold on. If you can't do the routing table, the way you play the game is if it's hot, you drop it. Don't burn your hands off. Anyways, that's my point. Is that's how routers work? Yeah. You should remember it forever because hot potato's hilarious. I've never played it. I've only, I guess ever heard of it as a term. All right. So this one is interesting. So this is question 3. So so we saw how routing works. There's so much more to routing. Like, how do devices update each other and how do they talk to each other? Now this question I think is a sub question to this. So we're gonna back this up and say, what does 1 mean for directories? So, and then we're gonna come down here and we're gonna answer these two together, I think. We'll call them the same thing. All right, drink some more water here. So, we're over here. Linux question about file permissions. What does chmod 755 mean? So if I pwd ls and I am in a directory and I touch some file and then I ls-l some file, I see that it is 644 for its permissions. Now, I'm not going to, if everybody knows what that means, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. But if you don't know what that means, let me know and I'll explain it. But let's chmod real quick 755 to some file, and let's see how that changes. Now, some of you knew it was going to come up like that. But these permissions are octal. What do I mean by octal? These permissions are octal. Get out of here. What the fuck? God, that's annoying. Alright. Got it right here. Alright. So look at these permissions real quick here. So on the left, you've got these are octal permissions right here. And right here you've got a group of 3. You've got a group of 3 right here, you've got a group of 3 right here, and you've got a group of 3 right here. And the way that they work right here is the owner is named right here, root. The group is named right here as the group root. And everyone else doesn't need to be named because they're just the ones that are not in the owner or the group. So everyone else is just everyone that's logically not these two, right? Real easy to find. Logical not. Is it here? Yes. Is it here? Yes. And then if no, you're in this bucket. There's only 3 things that have to be checked. This one gets these permissions. So his original permissions were RW, which is read, write, execute. Read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So when he was read, write only, I say he was 6. So up here, he was 6, 4, 4. And I say that because he was 6, 4, 4 in his permissions. Do you guys see that? 6, 4, 4. But down here, we were told to make him 7, 5. Well, the question asked us, what is 7, 5, 5? Well, it's 7, 5, 5. Well, over here, it's 7, which is all of these bits on. It's an octal, so all the bits on. 5, which is read and execute, and then read and execute right here. Boom. So, this is from the lab this week. So, hopefully, if you struggle, you can go spend a little time in there. And then they ask, what does the 1 mean for directory? So, there's 2 things that I think they could be asking there. There's 2 things I think they could be asking there. They could be asking, what does this 1 mean? Right here. Or, and for directories, by the way, so let's do an ls-ld on the directory we're in. And they might be asking, what they're probably asking, though, is what does this 1 mean? Right here. And what that means is directory traversal. Meaning, for a file, it's execute. But for a directory, it's whether or not you can pass through it. So you say, Scott, I don't get that. Well, watch this real quick. Let's say user add Scott, and we'll add a -m, so it'll make my home directory. And then I'll sudo, I'll do an su dash to Scott. Because I'm root, so I can become Scott. Now I'm Scott. Who am I? I'm the Scott user. I'm no longer the root user. And I'm going to try to go into root's home directory. So I'm going to mosey on in. I'm going like this. I'm walking home. It's a little cottywomple, right? Home. I'm going to go into root's home directory, which is /root. Is this going to work? Now, hold on real quick. My name is Scott. Do I belong to the group? No. Or sorry, the owner. Am I the owner? No. Am I in the group, like in their family, if you want to think of it like that? It's family, right? No. So I'm everybody else. I've got this permission to go into their home directory. I don't think this is going to work, guys. Can't cd to root. Well, hold on a minute. But if I exit, can he cd to root? Yeah. His name is on the door. Root is root. And his group, if I say ID root, his group is right there. But if I go back to Scott, right, a user I just made and pulled up out of the air, ID by itself, I'm not in the group of root. Even if I was in the group of root, this guy doesn't let his family come in. So it doesn't really matter. But anyways, my point is, we could change this, and then we could put Scott in the group root, and then Scott would be able to get in. Do you guys want to see that? Watch this. Let's exit out. ls-ld, I'm in this directory. If I do a pwd, that's the directory I'm in. And I'm going to chmod 770 root. ls-ld again, and I see 770. And then I'm going to say vi etc groups, right, or group, and I'm going to go down to root. So there's my group for root. And people really shouldn't be in this group, but we'll put Scott in there just for now. And then now, when I become the Scott user, right, back to the Scott user, I'll say ID, and I'll see that I'm in the group. And now I can go into the root directory because that permission set right there to execute allows me to traverse into the directory on that. What if the other only has 1, only execute permission, no read or write? That wouldn't work, Yexter. You need at least 5. If it was just X, it wouldn't work. You need at least a minimum of 5 because it's read and execute to traverse. Make sure I'm not lying to you. I might be lying to you. Let's check that. Let's change him to 1. I don't think that's gonna work, but let's see. ls-ld. That's it. I don't think it'll work, but my user still has the ID of the group. Oops, you can't press up. cd to root. apparently 1 is the only thing that's needed to traverse. I always thought you needed the read, but I can't tell S in here. I can traverse through this directory, but I can't read anything in there. So that's actually funny. I have never seen one set ever in my career. 20 plus years of professional Linux. I've never seen a one set. I've only seen 4s, 5s, 6s, well, zeros, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. Those are the only ones I've seen. 2 would be weird, and 1 would be weird. So, and then 3. Yeah, 3. I've also not seen 3. Maybe there's a use case for it. Maybe I just want this to be like a black hole and give somebody the ability to write in here but never read. That'd be super weird. But maybe. There's probably some use cases on the internet for that kind of stuff, sure. And it is directory traversal. And then for here, 755 is 7 for owner. So we'll go down here. 7 for owner. 5 for group, 5 for everyone else, and then 4 2 plus. Well, we won't break down the permissions there, but that's what that means, right? Gray Fox, you could do it. I tell people all the time, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Anybody ever heard that? You've probably heard that from me if you guys have. Yeah, we could. I mean, we'd set it. 111. See, root kind of gets away with being able to do kind of whatever it wants, right? Even though he doesn't have any permissions in here. But the other user's not. He's still not going to have any permissions. He can still get in there though. But he has no permissions to read. No, you don't set it for the user Scott. You do your chmod on the directory. Yeah, but I'm not setting it on root. I'm setting it against the directory, so it doesn't matter what user goes in. The access control list belongs to the inode that's pointing to the system file, right? So the file or the directory or whatever, that's where the access control list is applied, not whether I'm root or the other one. Yeah, it's set. My user can still do whatever he wants, but the Scott user can't do anything. So, all right. This one is kind of interesting. Where would you go to find logs? Well, obviously in the forest, that's where logs exist, right? But they talk about cd to var log. And var log is going to have different stuff in here. Oh, change the ownership for Scott? I mean, we could do that. Yeah. You could change the ownership too. And then the permissions would just slide over for Scott from the far right to there. It would be the same. Doesn't matter. But the Scott user wouldn't be root still. He wouldn't have those permissions. So, like the things that root gets away with. So in here, we can watch. So where would you find logs? In varlog. And there's syslog on Ubuntu systems, but it tends to be messages on Red Hat systems. And then there's authlog, but it tends to be secure. So varlog secure and varlog messages inside of your Red Hat systems. And then over here it's authlog. And we could do a tail-f on authlog. And we could watch that run in real time. And if people are logging in or doing whatever different things, we could see that happening here in the logs. Tail-f will lock your screen but keep showing you information until you hit Control-C, and then it'll be good there. So what do you see in a log file? It tends to be a timestamp, and the timestamp should really be, best case scenario, set to UTC. Let's do date here, and it tells us the time in UTC. A lot of times the reason we use UTC in logs is because if you have servers across multiple different time zones and your time zones are set differently, good luck trying to resolve an issue the next day. I've worked with servers in I mean, I've worked with servers that were globally placed, and without UTC on there, you're not going to be able to get some of this stuff. You're never going to be able to match stuff back. So your logging has to do that. Also, for some of you guys that have been in the home lab before, right here, this has the actual logging right here that comes from the system, but then it also has the logging as it gets sent up into Loki. So Loki has its timestamp, and then the server also has its timestamp, which could be different, but I would still be able to search on the timestamp of when it landed. So even if my servers were all kind of jacked up, we'd be able to still track it back to one time. So that would be kind of useful. All right. Let's pull that back up real quick here. Hold on. Where was that at? Kubernetes. All right. So how would you go find logs? CD to var logs, var log, and then we would probably do like tail-f on, auth.log, or on maybe syslog, or again, it could be different depending on the Linux system that you're using, right? It's all very possible. Varlog can also be a place for custom logs. So if we had, some script that was running, we could throw it in here. If we were running cups for some god-awful reason, you guys heard about that cups vulnerability the other day? Whatever. I think the question they wanted to know if to understand what the one means can be executed still, even though you cannot list files in the directory, but there's a file in that directory with X permission. You can the file in the dir because of the X on the dir. You can go into the directory with X. You can traverse through it, yes, but you won't be able to see what's in there. No, we were trying that. You can't ls in the directory. If you don't have read, it's not going to come back to the read. So, all right. So we did this. We found the syslog and these other things. So, all right. What would you do? So this is interesting. What would you do if you found an issue with a service not working, and then a sub question of that? We'll call that like an A. How would you get it back up and running again? You can if you know the name of the file. Huh. Well, that sounds terrible. That's interesting. That's that sounds like a use case I would never expect, I guess. All right. So what would you do if you found an issue with a service not working? Where would you go check? Well, logs are great. You should check the logs for that service. But then you might want to go to systemctl. So systemctl status of maybe like SSH would give you information about it. Once you see that the process is running, maybe you go grab the process ID, and now you can see how long it's been running for. So maybe you do like a ps-eo lstart cmd and PID, and then you grep for 716 because that happens to be this PID, and then I would see, and I can also get the name if I want, right? And not name, start cmd PID, I guess we don't get name, but we can still see the command. 748. 748 maybe. There we go. There it is. So there's the process, and there's how it was started, and we can see when it was started, so we can compare that to right now and go, okay, this was started a little over an hour ago on the system as it came up. So all right. So we come down here, that's our logs, and then maybe just look at system, D, and figure out what's going on with it. And then how would we get it started up again? You can just try to start it, right? Systemctl start, systemctl shd start shd. It's always backwards for me. So this would start it if it wasn't started. We can restart it. And if there was a problem with it, we can do a journal ctl-xe and it'll tell us if there were errors. So it says, yeah, you went ahead and restarted the service, but we were able to find, you know, this was able to start correctly. So we started a job for unit SSH, and then now if I go look at the service status again, I should see that it's a new PID. It's a much later PID, and the date and time is much more recent. 24 seconds ago in that case, right? So it's a newer. So all right. So just try starting it. Look in the logs, and that might be journal CTL-XE, or there's other ways to call journal CTL, but that's the one that shows the most recent messages in there, so it's pretty easy to see stuff. All right. They said, again, I asked if I could use this. What is group policy? Flopped at this, said if group permissions. That's fine. I gotta change that. It's gonna bug me. Okay. Change that too. All right. A bunch of permissions that you had. Okay. So what is group policy? That's a Windows Active Directory term, right? So they were asking for an infrastructure role. It wasn't just a Linux role. But group policy is a way that you can apply policies or permissions to whole servers or users or anything that actually exists in an Active Directory tree. So that's one. And then ask what is Active Directory. That was probably just like a more of a probing question around that. And then you can store passwords and stuff. Question about how you would document something. So this is Windows, right? So we don't focus on Windows around here. I'm just kidding, but it's Windows, right? And you need to, if you're going to get in on one of those. By the way, you're probably going to interact with Windows at some time in your career, even if you're being all Linux. You're probably not going to come up with them. All right. You're probably not going to get away from Windows in your career. How do you go about documenting an issue that hasn't been seen before? So, you know, what tool do you want to use? Learn Markdown, because you're probably going to have to use Markdown for whatever that is. But documenting an issue that hasn't been seen before, I would say you definitely want to make sure that you understand that. Learn Markdown. I would say even before this, make sure you're taking notes, right? I'm always taking notes in my terminal at all times. So make sure you're taking notes. And then I would tell you to, make sure you're taking notes, and then write out what isn't working as you investigate. We talked about this last week in the Linux Systems Administration course. I said that we test assumptions, and then we prove things to ourselves as we go. I go to a server, the server's up, I've SSH'd into it. I don't need to see if its IP address is still right, and I don't need to do, there's all kinds of things I don't need to do anymore, because I know that they're working, because I wouldn't SSH in if it wasn't working. Once that happens, I go start testing other assumptions. How long has the box been up? Oh, the box has only been up 24 minutes. That's a data point that's relevant now, because when servers restart, they go off their config files, not things that people may have changed since the server started, and not processes that may have reloaded, or all kinds of things. So it's possible that things have changed in the system when it's been up for the last 3 months, right? Maybe it went to a new kernel that was lying dormant because nobody updated it after the last patching. There's all kinds of things that can happen, right? So, you know, make sure, write out what isn't working as you investigate. I think I have this. Hold on, let me go look in last week's thing if I have a good, what that kind of looks like. Hold on. I think it was last week we did this. This is my, like, what are you doing in an incident, right? What are you doing in an incident? You get alerted, note when you were alerted, check and test assumptions. The server can do this, server cannot do this. Document anomalies. capture output report to the bridge if you're doing like a bridge call, or if you have like errors and stuff, and something's actually taking real downtime, you need to be focused on getting everything back operational. I've told you guys this before. If you've been in the Linux Systems Administration group, the primary key performance indicator, KPI, of an operational team, if you're a server administrator, you're on an operational team, you're keeping things operational, your primary key performance indicator is uptime. How long is the service that when somebody goes and hits it, it gives our company $5? Is that always available when people go to hit it? And if it's not, what is the percentage of time that it's not? And that right there is what you're judged on in all cases. Then you say, well, what if just one of my servers is down, but I've got a load balancer and I've got 5 other servers, so the customer, when they rang that bell, I still got the $5 the entire time. That's still uptime, which is one of the reasons why we love, as systems administrators, we love our highly available things. And you might say, oh, Scott, what you just described is site reliability engineering. And I'd say, yeah, well, you know where they came from? Because I had never heard the term site reliability engineer 7 years ago. Who did all that? It was the systems engineers and systems administrators and the developers, right, working hand in hand. And then that became the term DevOps. When those people kind of squish up together, that becomes DevOps, right? It's all, man, this is all the regurgitation of the same crap over and over again, guys. It's the same exact thing over and over again. All right. Where's my last break? Oh man, I've been talking a while. All right. I'm gonna take another break, and I'll leave this up because maybe somebody wants this. Maybe somebody wants it. You guys can. This is in a recording that we already have. But let's go. Let's put on a little hourglass thing here. You guys can stretch your legs, walk around, ask questions, but take a break and join Discord. If you haven't joined Discord, you guys are welcome to. It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. Otherwise, to hang out, feel free to talk with other people. I'm going to walk around a little bit. Also, gosh, man, I wish Phoenix would cool down. It's still so flipping hot here. All right, I'll be back. All right, I'm back. If you guys don't know how to join Discord, let me link it for you guys. Discord is right there on the Twitch side. And for those of you, it was probably a smaller company, and it was for an infrastructure engineer position, so it wasn't quite for like it wasn't all for a Linux. Hold on, move this back over here. Yeah, what are we doing? You guys are still on break though. Feel free to take a break longer. Yeah, this I got the in from the post. It was infrastructure engineering, so they weren't just Linux, which makes sense. You know, they asked some heavy network stuff. Well, it could be heavy network stuff, and they asked some Active Directory stuff. So they just basically had to know kind of everything. So steps you would take. So this is troubleshooting. You guys know how I do troubleshooting, right? I've shown you guys all that. Johnny Man, how's it going? We're just hanging out right now. We're not working too hard because it's a Friday, and my wife's out of town. So, except for maybe going to get a little food here in a little bit, I'm just gonna be kind of streaming all night working on stuff. So, this is what we get here. So, subnetting question is my bread and butter, maybe my favorite. Subnetting question. Let's say to, and then this is the definition. This is the literal definition of triage. So I had you guys doing triage in the class. That's that. Subnetting. I'm just going to give you guys the answer here. And if you have a /28, how many hosts is it? Well, let's go to the game tape. No, I'm just kidding. A /28 is 4 host bits. 4 host bits have 16 states of nature, but you lose the first one for the network and you lose the last one for the broadcast, so it's 14 usable. You're going to lose one of those for the network device, so it's only 13 left, but that's what it is. So. And the reason you might say, Scott, why aren't you digging into that more? Because I've got the networking stuff all over, up and down. You guys can go on. I have a networking primer that shows you all that, and I show you guys networking pretty regularly. So I think you guys are probably good on that. How do we troubleshoot? I mean, at a high level, identify the issue, right? Or some people call this formulate the problem, right? And then I have a couple of different methods in my presentations that I tend to show you guys for this, right? For troubleshooting. I think I just call it troubleshooting. I call it general troubleshooting, of course. General troubleshooting looks like this. Identify the problem and its symptoms. Establish a theory of probable cause. Test your theory to determine the cause. So just grab all these. Boom. Troubleshooting. This is a way to do it. It's not the only way, but it's a way to do it. All right. Traffic King question. I watched the ex-director of CISA a couple days ago being asked about the responsibility of the government versus IT teams regards to China's hacking of telcos recently. He put the onus on company teams and thought about being against state-sponsored attacks. Any thoughts? Traffic King, I'd have to watch that to know more, but I can tell you that, I mean, everybody's responsible for their security. I think that, so there's an interesting thing that happens, and I always explain this like in this context, because this is actually part of what's going into my dissertation, what I'm about to explain to you guys. But when you look at like self-defense laws, right? Like self-defense laws in the US, and then you say, well, okay, so a person has a right to defend themselves. If you're on the street and somebody just comes up and starts pushing you and says, I'm going to push you down into that water right there until you're dead, you have the right. And by the way, I don't think anybody could take this right away. Like, I don't think I could be anywhere on planet Earth where I wouldn't have the right to say, I'm not going down in that water to drown right now. I'm going to stop you. And then the levels of what you're allowed to do to stop that are questionable, and people are going to argue about that legally. But where I'm going with this is this. In the U.S., at least, in our law, and I know European law is similar to this, you have no right to defend yourself. So, like, what I mean by that is this. If I go right here to this, and I look at all these people trying to get into my shit, all these people are trying to get into my system, presumably maliciously. But I am breaking the law the second I go and say 81.161.238.160, you have drawn my ire. I am going to bring to bear a botnet, and we are going to crush whatever you are. I don't know what you are. I'm just going to fire a shot off into the night at you and crush you. Right? And you could do that, right? You buy botnets online if you want, or rent them, right? But I'm doing something illegal as soon as I try to defend back. So where I'm going with that is, they can blame the company, but I bet that company did. So there's two things: there's due diligence and due care, right? And you can go look at the quibble between what those are. That company probably did due diligence and due care to research the things and to patch their systems and to update. Now, if they were not doing those things, they deserved what they got. That's all there is to it. And you say, that doesn't sound fair. It's true. You got to keep your stuff locked up. We all know it. Every cybersecurity person knows it. Everybody doing this work knows it. So you got to keep your stuff patched up and locked up and that kind of shit. That being said, and by the way, that's like 99% of all incidents that happen is people just not locking their stuff up. So, but then where I go from that is, but if you're getting attacked by like states, so state sponsored, for you guys that don't know, means like Iran is after you, or like Russia or like China is taking your network down. Well, I think at that point, the government can't say that the individual's at fault, because what's the individual supposed to do? They're not allowed to attack back. All the laws are geared towards you are immediately breaking the law when you attack somebody back. Immediately. In cyberspace. I'm not talking about your right to defend yourself anymore on like the street, because I think there's like 34 states that have stand your ground laws, so you don't have to back up or run away from people, right? But you do in the cybersecurity sense. You can't do anything back. Anyway, so that's that. So if people, so if the telcos, and by the way, telcos are part of infrastructure, so they already have more stringent standards. They're already taking government money, and you say, what's that government money? I'm talking about like the Telecommunications Act of 1996 said that, this is why a lot of you, if you ever look at your phone bill, you pay for like a rural improvement tax. Everybody's been doing this on cell phone bills the entire time cell phones have existed. And the reason that tax exists is because telco companies would have no, think about it, where are all the people at? They're in the cities, right? So why would you ever spend and send lines out to like disparate parts of like rural parts of the country for no reason? Like, you're going to get very little benefit back from that as a telco provider. So the government subsidizes a lot of telco providers, and that all came about from, you can go look that up. It's the Telecommunications Act of 1996. Did a whole bunch of other things, but one of the things it did was it established taxes so that the telco providers would not just work in cities, because that's where you would go. You would build your infrastructure up and you would make money where the people are. But they said, no, we'll subsidize that and spread out. Anyway, so for all that, what I'm saying is that then if you're buying those contracts or vying for those contracts, you will then have to fall under those regulations from the government. So yeah, I don't know how they could get away with that, and that's probably what he meant when he blamed them. They probably had not adhered to some standard. They had not done due diligence and due care. And if you are found to have not done that, you're probably going to there's probably some people who are going to spend some time in jail. And you say, who spends time in jail for that? Well, C-levels do nowadays. Ever since Sarbanes-Oxley, you can't say, well, I'm a C-level, I'm a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and I didn't know about that. You can't do that anymore. That's why if you've ever dealt with a CISO in the last 10 years, they are assholes. Probably the last 15 years, they're assholes. Because if you're not giving them the information they need to keep their asses out of jail, they're terrible. They're a terror. They are, that's what terrible means, right? They are a terror, and that's by the way because they don't want to go to prison. So, yeah. But if you're compromised 4 months ago and you haven't taken, the steps to remediate that and that kind of stuff, yeah, you got, yeah. So all that stuff. All right. Anyway, so where are we at? Yeah. So this is troubleshooting, and this is again one. You guys have this. I'm just putting this up here, but you guys have this in our Discord all over the place. But yeah, I mean that would be my opinion on that, but I don't know specifically what he was saying. So if I don't know if you have a link and you want to drop it in the tech chat in the Discord, I would definitely read it. So that's troubleshooting. And then this one says, let's say 2 customers came to you, how would you prioritize them? Triage. You can do that as they did with money, right? That's a way. And I would say another way to look at that is service. So there's a thing called the BCP, which is the business continuity plan, BCP. And that is informed by a thing called the BIA, which is the business impact analysis. And you're going to say, Scott, how would I know all these things? And how would I know how to go look at these? You would probably have to know this, or this would already be built into like a run book. But then, so from this, it would be what is actually taking downtime. So what I mean by that is like if let's say 3 of my web servers are down, but they're behind a load balancer and 7 other web pages are up, and I'm sitting there doing curl requests, or I've got a tool like Burp Suite, and I'm hitting my thing from the outside, and I am not getting any dropped. Like we are handling the load with 7 nodes up and 3 nodes down, and there is no customer outage. That may be a little less important than like the production database being down, where nobody's able to do shopping cart stuff anymore. So nobody's able to buy and spend that money. Which is also a money thing again. But I'm saying you can be informed of that by your business continuity plan, which is informed by your business impact analysis. So if you want to actually know how to lay things out in order of importance, that's what these things do. They deal with that. Traffic King, did you say which room? It's in presentations. If you want troubleshooting, it's here. If you want to drop that in, drop it in the tech news. So if you want to drop it in tech news. There's the CIQ thing from earlier. But if you're looking for the troubleshooting is here. It's in presentations. HPC topics. All the presentations I do is up there for you guys. Subnetting, excelling in the engineering field. What the heck is that? I don't know. Pathfinder troubleshoot. There's our general troubleshooting one, which I have not significantly changed in the last few years because troubleshooting doesn't really change. There we go. And the Real J Sega, thanks for the subscription with Prime. You could use that anywhere. We've had a lot of Prime subscriptions. Is everybody's Prime subscriptions coming up at the same time or something? That's kind of funny. We've had a lot of those today. Probably 3 or 4 now today. So that's kind of good. Keeps me motivated. All right. Let's turn this back on. Let's go look at this. We were looking at this person's job. Somebody had a job interview. This was a real interview, and then they came and brain dumped for us a little bit on, what happened. And these are kind of my thoughts on what you would tell them or what you would go look at and study to kind of get ready. Okay? We have a whole bunch of other ones to do. And I've been updating this in the job section as we go, but we have all these other ones that have already been done and are kind of in previous recordings and stuff. But these are actual job board requirements or interviews that people have been to, right? And we just talked about the processes and the things and what you would go check and all that kind of stuff. Look at Ranger Dog down there. He's already had dinner, but I'll give him some treats here in a little bit. He's got plenty of water. I don't think he'd drink a Monster, so I won't give him one of those. Switched off him while he was moving. Oh, Ranger's gone. Ranger's gone. All right, so here's the plan. I'll probably go. Let's see, it's 7 o'clock here. I don't have anything to do tomorrow, so I'll probably hop back on here in a little bit. And I'm going to keep building out some lab stuff. And I'm going to I'll switch that over. That'll be Kubernetes based. So I'm going to be doing all this stuff over here in my Kubernetes lab. And we're going to fix this web test is up and running. And actually you can hit it for people that, well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about hitting that later because I've got a whole bunch of work to do on it. But we're going to, that is exposed to the outside. You guys can hit that. But I'm going to fix that up a little bit and make those a little more in line with some of my security practices. And then we'll share those out for everybody to be able to hit our web page. So we do have a web page. We have a few different web pages for the ProLug, but I'm going to get that up and running, I think, tonight. Then that'll be my little task here in a little bit. And then maybe I'll work on some lab stuff for this other project I'm doing as well. So let's go find somebody to raid out to. People on YouTube, unfortunately, I can't raid you anywhere, but I appreciate you guys coming. Let's go see what's going on there. Copilot, yeah, the real Jay Sega. I have a Windows 10 box as well, and it got updated with Copilot as well. All right, let's see who's on right now. Who's actually doing stuff right now? Let's go hit Clonk. Clonk is doing stuff, so we'll go raid him, and then I'll come back on later, and I'll be around. So I appreciate you guys coming, and for those of you in the lab, be ready for tomorrow. We're going to go hard at system administration. We're going to learn a whole bunch of stuff, hopefully, and we'll go from there.